Hello again, this is Mike Layton from Stochastic Marketing, and returning here again today with us is Jeremiah Wilson. He's the founder and CEO of Conversa, as well as the co-founder of ListenForce, and he has been teaching and training sales, customer service, and phone skills for over 20 years. And his company, Conversa, provides the most robust call tracking solution on the market. We are tightly integrated with all the things that they do to help track your marketing effectiveness and also improving the team's performance on handling calls. And ListenForce uses the recorded calls and conversation analytics to analyze team performance and assign training videos based on the phone skills of individual team members.
Well, Mike, thanks for having us back. You're a great partner to work with. This has been great. We're really excited about the positive feedback we've been getting from your subscribers, and we're really passionate about helping the businesses improve the phone skills for their teams and love to see this transform their businesses and make them much more profitable.
Yeah, we're really fortunate, I think, to be able to offer this. We're really excited about the response that we're seeing among our contractors. And it is so important for our listeners to implement this in their businesses as a way to really get, more leads, more appointments from their existing advertising budget. But for those of us that maybe, haven't listened or participated in some of the second or first webinars real recently, let's just take a moment to recap some of the things we've talked about up until now from the previous webinars. We started off talking about how about 80% of customer calls fail to use what we consider just to be the most basic phone skills found in successful calls. And it's no wonder that this translates to lower conversions on these calls.
Yeah, that's right. We've reviewed tens of thousands of hours of phone calls and found strong correlations between using the phone skills that we teach and improve sales. And the more of these phone skills are used consistently by a business, the higher their average close ratios. And not just by a little bit. The average close ratio out there is about 20% of customer calls, 1 in 5. We found that companies who really own these principles are religious about training their people how to handle their phone calls can see double the average sales or more.
And we have dealers who are closing as many as 90% of those sort of their new opportunity calls. And so the 20% number includes, okay, I've got a lot of calls where people are calling in to, confirm, are you going to come out at a certain time? Or, there's a lot of phone calls that come in that really aren't any opportunity for really significant revenue. But when that's
right.
Yeah, right.
One HVAC unit is certainly more than $2,800. So, and boy, are those painful calls to listen to when you can hear somebody who wants you to come out and potentially sell them a unit, and we lose that one. But to give you an idea of what our customer calls might sound like, I brought some examples today so we can listen to them, and it's amazing and scary how typical calls like this are so common, and we've listened to and analyzed hundreds of thousands of calls over the years. So let me start with one here, and
Sure.
We'll talk through it.
I'm legally blind. Okay. My AC is out right now, and it's just blowing, but it's not blowing any cold air. And I'm kind of. I think guys are probably busy this time of year.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy right now. I could certainly put you on the list, but more than likely it would either be sometime tomorrow or Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Okay. If you don't find someone, if you want to call us, I can put you on the list.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So he's raising his hand. This is what I need. And, of course, we can come up with a lot of things that we could do differently. Let me give a couple examples. I want to hear her say, oh, I'm sorry to hear it's not working for you right now. This is a rough time not to have your AC or whatever, right? Acknowledge, show some empathy right up front. Who is this? Who am I talking to? Hey, Bill. Now, she knows in the back of her mind that she's booked out today. And he wants it now, right? She knows that. But she's available, she has 2 days available coming up pretty quickly. So she could talk with him and say what I can do, not what I can't do. She went right to what I can't do. Why? Maybe because she's busy. Maybe she's got another call on hold. Maybe it's because she wants to read her newspaper. But in the end, as an owner, I would want to take that call and go, let me learn more about you, what you're looking to accomplish. Let me show you I really care. And it looks to me like I can be there tomorrow. And he may go, I really need somebody here today. You know what? I can put you on a list that allows me, if we can have anybody fall through to come out there, but we're getting so many calls right now, and we're running all over the city, but I know this is important to you. Will you be able to wait till tomorrow till we can get there? And right there I've asked for the business. I've shown empathy. I've become somebody that they can connect with and that they know cares. But sadly, this is a pretty typical phone call. And note that the most important part of this call is that there was no sale and no way to follow up with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bottom line here, isn't it? I mean, the bottom line is the bottom line. Basic phone skills are keeping, basic phone skills are keeping many of our listeners from making as much money as they should.
Yeah, the ROI for fixing phone skills can be huge. And you mentioned before that the average value of a customer in the HVAC industry is about $2,800. So imagine if you could sell one more customer a month. That works out to $33,600 a year. Implementing a phone skills training program in your business will cost far less than that, but it will make a huge return.
Well, you're being pretty gracious there because that was a no-cool call. So the average of $2,800 includes a mix of that calls like that, plus the calls to come out and change the filter. But I mean, calls like that are worth a lot more. They're on the low end $6,000. How many lost sales do you think? What do you think the average dealer loses?
It's hard to say because it depends on a lot of factors. How many calls is their marketing generating, and what is their current close or CSR booking ratio, and how many competitors are in the area. But it would be safe to say that most businesses could close at least 10 more deals per month, if not far more than that.
10 deals a month for the average guy? That's, $2,800, because that is a number. I mean, $2,800 per average new customer, and that's $28,000 a month. And that's assuming that the average contractor is a $2 million contractor. So the $2 million contractor typically is leaving $28,000 a month on the table.
Yeah, more than $300,000 a year. So the possible returns are just huge.
So why don't we go back in and let's review some of the steps we've discussed in our previous webinars that you need to take to build a successful phone skills training program.
Okay, great idea. So the elements of building a great phone skills training program are establish best practices for your phone skills. See, what do you define as a best phone skill? Read a good book, go to a seminar, listen to us, figure out what you think are the best skills. And then have a list of skills that we call, we have one we call the Clark methodology, which stands for connect, listen, acknowledge, recommend, and close. And we have to train your people on each of these skills that you have, that we've established or you established. You got to train them on that. A good program records phone calls so you can go back and objectively review them. You need to listen to and analyze the calls and report on those findings. And ultimately, you need consistency in your process. And you have to really own this. Treat this process like your bottom line depends on it, because it does.
Share us more about each of the phone skills that you're talking about. What is the Clark methodology?
So Clark stands for connect, listen, acknowledge, recommend, and close. And I'll break those down and give some examples of what we're looking for. We'll even play some calls for each of these. So first, connect. This is the basics of how to greet a customer, how to get a customer's name. So let's play a call that's a bad example of that.
Hello? Yeah, hi. I was just trying to reach a...
Okay, so I'm going to play that again because you may have missed it. This is the person saying hello is the HVAC dealer.
Hello? Yeah, hi. I was just trying to reach a...
Okay, so that's a bad example because, of course, in a greeting you want to say your name, this is who I am, and you want to say the company name. Now, of course, you could add to that, it's a great day, how are you doing, how can I help you? And I'm totally supportive of that, as long as whatever you say in your greeting sounds genuine, sounds natural, and doesn't sound like you just said it 50 times before or during the day. So typically when I'm working with somebody on the greeting, I'm going to say, look, say your name, say the company name, and say it in a tone like you really mean it. That's the right kind of greeting. So let's listen to an example of that.
Callie Womack with Oliver Collar.
Hey, how's it going, Callie?
You are so cheerful. I got to tell you, I've worked in a lot of companies, small and large. I've been the office manager. I've been the one answering the phone. And your greeting and your response to everything I've asked and said has been the main catalyst for me telling my husband, I want to go with.
Okay, so you'll notice that she actually didn't say, how may I help you? She just said her name and company name and in a great tone. And then you can tell that this particular customer is actually called her a few times. And so this consistency of her doing that has been what's been impressive. Not just this call, but that response from the customer is from the consistency. Here, let me play another good call example.
Looking for some filters. I wonder if you get them for me.
Absolutely, I can do that for you. Who am I talking to?
Carl Lamb.
Carl Lamb?
All right.
Carl Lamb.
Okay.
I have an account with you guys.
I'm pretty sure you do.
And I'm going to play another call here in just a second. If you can hear the enthusiasm in his voice, yes, I can help you, the first thing out of his mouth, who am I speaking with? So this is that continuation of the greeting. Here's another example.
Good morning. Thank you for calling Galise. This is Debbie. May I help you? Yes, good morning, Debbie. We have a bit of a problem. I wondered if you could help us. Oh, absolutely. What's going on? Great.
Okay. Name, company, how can I help you? She added to that one. But she said it in the right tone. It's upbeat. It's enthusiastic. And then the customer says she has a problem. Now, what's interesting is every plumber gets a call with a problem, right? Most HVAC dealers get a call with a problem. They're dealing with problems all day long. Did it sound like this was her 16th problem of the day? Absolutely not. She's like, oh, really? I'm sorry to hear that. What can I do for you? And that's the key. I'm telling you right now, if you answer a phone in just the first 10 seconds like this, and you connect with the customer the way that you just heard on these calls, the customer in their mind is going, well, this is a breath of fresh air. I mean, think about it. You yourself are the customer. You're calling around to multiple businesses. How many times do you get somebody treating you like that? And once that happens, you're like, okay, let me just sit back and let this person take care of things because they obviously care. I don't have that kind of care in my life, and isn't it great that I finally get somebody who's going to care? Let them take care of me. And then the sale, asking for the business and all the rest of it just kind of happens after that. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but it really makes a massive difference if in the first 10 seconds you set the tone correctly like we just heard.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked before about in how many cases a customer's calling in to, they're talking about purchasing something that's $7,000 for a new HVAC unit or more. And it just shocks me when dealers or contractors, well less than half the time, they don't even get the name.
Yeah, so the next two components are listen and acknowledge. So listening is the ability to understand what a customer really wants. And good listening means you ask open-ended questions that get them talking, not a question that has them saying yes and no, but questions that get them talking, and then you have the opportunity to actually listen to something. So I think we're all too quick to ask the simple, quick questions, but not get into the most important question. Here's an example of the best question to ask. Tell me more about your project. Tell me more about what it is you're trying to accomplish. If they're calling and say there's something wrong with my HVAC, of course you show the empathy. I'm so sorry to hear that. Tell me more about what you're experiencing. That's an open-ended question right off the bat. And then what's really important is when I hear an answer from them, I keep asking questions. I don't just assume I know everything. And by the way, I probably do. I probably know everything because I do this all day long. But don't assume that. Ask more probing questions. The more I ask an open-ended question, the more I learn, the more I listen. And when I understand, then I get a sale. When I understand the customer, how could I lose the business? I know what they need. So let's listen to an example. This first one's going to be a bad example. Let's see how this one goes.
Is that something you could possibly help me out with?
Maybe.
Yeah. Is that something you could help me out with? Maybe. The answer is always yes, because even if you can't do it, what you can do is direct them into the right place where you can help them. Let's listen to another bad call.
Yeah, I need to speak to the gentleman I just spoke on the phone with about my purchase from the other day.
He's with somebody.
Oh, well, he said he was going to call me right back.
Well, he's with somebody because they came in, and
okay.
I didn't call you, but...
Well, would you be able to help?
Oh, that just, oh my gosh, if that did not make you just crawl wherever you were and hide. That is so bad. So here's the thing. He was on a call. He said, I'll call you back. We can hear right now that the other person is saying, look, somebody just walked in. You know, he's busy right now. He just got taken with, busy with a walk-in customer. And then, of course, this brings up the question, well, what's most important, the guy on the phone or the walk-in customer? And the answer is both. And the way you handle that here is this person says, oh, okay, it sounds like you needed to talk with them. Is there anything I can help you with? Let me pull up your information. But anything he would have said that would have been helpful, like, let me get your name and information. It looks like he just got stuck, but I know what you're saying is important. And if he doesn't give you a call back within a few minutes, I'll see if I can interrupt him and see what we can do to help. I mean, anything that would show care. But what just happened on this call is the exact opposite of care. And because this is exactly, we're right now talking about listening, what did he listen to? What does this particular rep understand? He understands that the guy wants help. He understands that he was talking with somebody else. He understands that he's calling back right now, maybe a little urgently, to say, he said he was going to talk to me, I want to talk with him. So he knows that this guy really wants to work with this business. That's what he knows. But what else could he know? If he asked more questions, what could he learn to actually listen? Because if he was listening, he would know that what he's saying is the wrong thing to say. And by the way, I'm going to go there. The skill of listening is the same skill whether you're on business doing HVAC or whether you're at home with your spouse or when you're with your kids or when you're with a good friend that needs you to listen. It's the same skill. This guy didn't listen. And by the way, since there's no name here, right, I'm not exposing anybody. Hopefully this person doesn't listen and write me an angry letter. But let me just say, if he does this at home, I'd be shocked if he's still married. That's a strong statement. But let's be honest. This is about our business, and Mike, you keep pointing out that in a $2 million business, what kind of volume can we get? I can't treat customers like this without losing money. Not just this one sale, this one deal, but this customer. I mean, he could go and give me negative feedback now because of how he just had that experience. I could lose other customers because of it. All right, so I'm going to go. We're going to go listen to a good call. Let's listen to a good call about listening, and specifically how well am I listening on this call?
This is Brent. With whom am I speaking, please?
Hi, my name is Kelly, and I'm calling to see how we go about setting up an appointment for someone to come out.
Okay. I can definitely help you with that, Kelly.
So he starts out, he heard what she said, tells her, I hear what you say, by acknowledging. This is specifically the acknowledgement statement, which, by the way, is the third point. I'm still going to see if I can find a call here for listen, but in order to show I'm listening, I've got to say, I can help you with that. I actually have to say those words, not okay, sure, or silence, or keep talking, whatever I'm conveying. I've got to actually stop the call right there and say, I can help you. That shows that you're listening as well. So let's listen to another good example here.
And then I want him to also look at replace my tie-in from my meter into my house. It's a little hard to explain, but
okay. Well, I'll make that a no needs estimate to replace tie-in for meter.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Absolutely. We'll do whatever you need there.
Okay, so another important skill with listening is to show them you listen by repeating back what they said, and that's what you just heard her do. He said, "I need this tie-in," and got specific about it. She repeated it back. So what you need is the tie-in, and you need this and that. Okay, yes, that's exactly what he need. Great. That restate, believe it or not, I mean that sounded really important. That she said, "This is what you said. This is what I'm going to do." Does that sound right? Yes. I cannot tell you how significant that statement is that she did that. It literally, in my opinion, it is what leads to being able to easily ask for the sale later on. It is the ultimate skill in putting them at ease and saying, these guys get me. And what's interesting about it is all you had to do was repeat back what you heard. And as long as you can repeat back what you heard, you're going to be a great salesperson. Repeat back what you hear. Let them say, yes, that's what I said. Move on to the next call. That is the definition of showing I'm restating because I listened to them.
You're right. I mean, I find myself doing the same thing, and I'm sure everybody listening does that too. You know, they say most people listen so they can respond instead of listening so they can understand. And, you know, how does restating solve the problem that we all have?
Yeah, so when you restate, it forces you to listen to what you are saying and to then let them know what you understand they said. And sometimes you didn't understand them correctly, and they'll correct you. And that's great. That's okay. It means that you're getting closer to understanding them, and it keeps you from recommending the wrong thing.
And I think it's interesting, you know, up to this point in the calls we just listened to, they hadn't tried to sell on anything yet.
It's not important at that point. The most important, well, and let me be clear, we think the definition of sell is offer a price and ask for an appointment. The definition of sell is I connected with you. I acknowledged you. I understand you. I listened to you. If I can do those steps, I'm going to get the sale. That is sales right there. We think in our mind, we think about a used car salesman usually. He's like, I don't want to be in sales because then I have to push somebody to do something they don't want to do. Well, good selling is selling something to somebody that they need because I understand them and I know exactly what they need and I'm getting it for them and they're grateful and they're my friend for life. Good relationships come from good sales. In fact, if I had to be honest with myself, I think my best customers are my best friends, to be honest with you, because I've listened and understand them. I'm giving them what they need. They're getting wealthy from it. I'm happy from the relationship. I'm getting wealthy from it. We're friends because of it. Some of my best friends are my customers.
Well, it's a lot of Tom Hopkins 101 and Brian Tracy that we all kind of forget 20, 30 years later, right?
Or we think that win friends and influence people should just be if, I'm a face-to-face situation in somebody's home, and it can be applied on a phone call in 2 minutes. So the mark of a good salesperson is that most of the sales comes from listening to what the customer actually wants before you actually try to sell them anything. And if you know what they want and they know that you understand them, they're much more likely to believe the sales pitch. Which brings us to recommend. This is the sales pitch, the recommend. The client is looking for recommendations of what to buy. They call because they want to purchase. And if you listened, you'll know what products or services align with their needs. Recommend is the opportunity to sell them on their best option. And if there isn't a good fit, there's an opportunity to recommend other options. For example, you'll find a lot of customers will ask for stuff that you actually can't help with. I mean, you may not even be the provider of the equipment that they're talking about. But if you'll listen enough, you probably have a solution for them that you'll be able to help them with. So rather than play a call on this, and I will tell you that particular skill, while it's not a difficult one, it's one that I have fewer positive skills, and I have a lot more negative on it. Negative being, here's your price, silence. Or, I heard what you're asking for, sure, I can do that, but then there's really no detail around it. It's just you're selling what everybody else is selling. Yeah, we all sell the same thing, sure, I can do that. You want to differentiate yourself from everybody else, so this means coming back to them and saying, and actually, if you write down this phrase, this is the phrase that you would say every time. Based on what I've heard, here's what I would recommend. Which emphasizes that I listen to you, I understand you, and I'm tailoring this to you. So based on what I've heard, here's what I would recommend. You mentioned, and this is where I can start personalizing it, so it's not just an out of the box or canned or cookie cutter approach. I can come right back to them and say, now you mentioned that you have 5 kids at home, or you mentioned that you're on a 1-floor house and you're only here 6 months out of the year. Whatever. You had to listen and learn unique things about them. And said, because you mentioned this, it seems to me like this would be the right piece of equipment for you. And I would recommend this. Why don't I get an installer to come out there, make sure that that's accurate, and give you a good sense of what that's going to look like. That would be my recommendation. By the way, I just asked for the sale. I squoze that right in there. So I want to make sure that my recommendation is customized to that particular call because I listened and I understood them.
So, we discussed in the first webinar, because even the recommendation can be part of that, but we discussed in the very first webinar that the most important part of a customer call is asking the client for the business. Asking for the appointment, not taking the appointment. It's very different, right? You're not ordering pizza. You ask for the business. Ask for the appointment.
Yep, that's right. When we look at data from the 600,000 phone calls, we find that the number one predictor of a successful outcome of a call that results in a booked appointment for a sale, is whether the agent asks for the business, asks the customer to buy. I can do all these other things on the Clark methodology. I can be friendly and outgoing and get their name, and I can get it all ready and set, and all I had, and then give a price and say, so what do you think? Well, what do you think isn't asking for the sale at all. It's a soft close, but it's not asking for the business. Or I can give them a price and say, well, yeah, let us know if you're interested, which, by the way, I hear that too often, and that should never be said. Or just give us a call back, and that's how calls will end. And so this last skill on that Clark methodology, the close, it's the ABCs of sales are always be closing. Asking the customer to purchase what you've recommended is still the most effective way to sell stuff. And most businesses fail to effectively ask for the businesses. Businesses that ask for the business have much higher sales ratios. So let's play some calls. Again, I'll start with a bad call. Let's see how this goes.
Yep. Okay. So can I give you my number to call me when it comes back in? Because I'd like to.
Sure.
Oh, I hope you're cringing like I am. I'm going to play a few more of those. This is the horror show right here. So that call is particularly bad because the customer is saying, "Can you call me back? Can you call me when that product comes in?" Sure. Like, I really don't want to. I'd rather you do the work, but I guess so since you're asking me. And really, we should be the ones asking for the opportunity to do it. Here's another poor example.
Special order. It is special order. Okay. May I order a couple of cartons from you?
If you were dealing with Dave, he should probably be the one to do that. We do have paperwork that requires signatures.
Okay.
And we do require payment in full for material-only orders.
So what I'm sharing with you right now are calls where the customer actually comes out and asks us for the business, and we turn it away. I certainly have the other calls where we don't do anything, but these are particularly interesting because we are literally saying, no, I don't want to do it with you, or we got all this paperwork we got to do. You better work with your sales guy, which, by the way, are probably policies that are in place, but the right response would have said, yes, let's get this worked out. Let me get Dave over here, or let me get your information. I have Dave call you back and get you the paperwork. It's the same statement, only it's a positive statement that actually closes the sale.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll have to give that a little more thought.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Now, this would be the more typical example that we hear where we get to the end of the call. We've gone through all the Clark methodology all the way except the close. Now we're at the close. The customer says, well, let me give it some more thought. This is exactly the point at which you need to say, why do we need to give it more thought? Or what is causing you to not want to actually schedule with us today? Where we actually come out and ask a question like, well, let's get you booked. And let her say no. Not, I want to give it more thought, but I want her to say no or yes. And until I get to a no, I don't actually know if I can get the sale or not. I as a salesperson, want to hear no, because that gives me an opportunity to discover why they don't want to do something with us right now. And yeses are great, but no's for salespeople aren't bad either, because it gives me a chance to actually overcome an objection and work forward on it. So in that respect, all you heard at the end of the call was okay, sure, bye, as opposed to any responsibility, ownership from her to actually feel like it was her job to close that business.
And about an hour after that, she would have got a missed opportunity notification.
Yeah, very good point. Exactly. Our system would have heard that this was a legitimate lead with a real request that we didn't close, and we would have flagged it and said, call this person back. Absolutely. So I'm going to go to the next call. This is going to be a good example. Let's hear how this goes.
There also seems to be a second leak. It's a double sink. Up near the top where the drain comes down, underneath the sink also.
Oh, we can definitely help you with that. I have an appointment available today, say between 11 and 1. Would that work?
Okay, that is the ideal close, right? You can do an assumptive close. You can do, let me give you 2 options on when you would, of available dates we could come out. She went straight in and said, I know your problem. I understand what you need. Here's when we can be there. That's a closing question, and that's what you want to ask every single call. And if you do that, your close ratios will go up significantly.
You know, we got a question from in between all these recordings. We got a question from somebody in the audience from Indianapolis. Jamie from Indianapolis asks, what is the best way to get my team to use these phone skills consistently?
So, Jamie, as we mentioned in our previous webinars, one of the most important things for a successful phone skills training program is consistency. And you have to be consistent in teaching the skills and holding people accountable for using them, which is why we built our ListenForce tool. So what ListenForce does is it takes all the elements you need in a successful program and automates them for you. We give you simple introductory videos that your team can easily participate in to get up to speed on each of the Clark concepts we just introduced to you. And we then take recordings of your calls, analyze them automatically for you, and provide your team with additional training videos on the concepts that they're weakest on, the ones that they may not be actually using on the phone like at the level you'd like to see. And that makes the biggest difference in closing more business for you. These videos take about 5 minutes for your team members to watch, and they can do that, at lunch. They can do that before they start the day, at the end of the day, in between calls. So a real quick, easy shot in the arm. And our clients have found that compliance with the program is really high because we've made it really easy for them. So when employees get on board, they really start producing results and make the program more consistent.
And our listeners should know that, Stochastic makes the ListenForce service available to our clients. All you have to do is add this service into the marketing package that they get through Stochastic. So the conversation analytics that Conversa brings to the table, the artificial intelligence, the scoring, we rely on that to know how the call production is, how it's booking, the quality of the leads, and all that stuff. And we include all that with our other services just to capture the call recordings. But even if you are using some other call recording system, particularly for listeners who may not be Stochastic customers, those recordings can be imported directly into ListenForce, right?
Yeah, we can take calls from almost any call tracking provider and of course do it ourselves if necessary. So if your listeners are using call tracking through Stochastic but also have additional call tracking that records their calls, we could probably use those calls also. We've also found that many phone systems today will allow you to record your phone calls, so we can usually get those and add them to your mix. And one thing we found is that the more calls we can process for you each month, the better the data is. So it's one thing if you have 10 calls and your team member botches one of them. That might be an outlier and it's easy to explain away. But if you listen to 100 calls and 10 of them from the same agent are bad, you know you have a problem. So the more calls we analyze for you, the more accurate the results and the faster we can help your team improve.
And that's a good point. I mean, ListenForce looks at individual calls or do they aggregate the findings? But to your point, we've had a number of contractors. I mean, guys have been measuring phone calls from tracking numbers for many years. But there's a huge volume of calls that come into a contractor's main number. And I can think of one guy in particular. I'm just kind of visualizing his daily report. When he just moved his main phone number through Conversation Analytics and ListenForce, we pulled out about 250 calls a month that he didn't realize he was missing. He was a bigger guy, of course. But this doesn't apply just to, calls that may come in on the tracking line that's published on the billboard. It's your whole business.
That's right. So when it comes to, individual calls or aggregating it, we do both. We found that aggregated results give a better idea of where the team is overall, but that helps to assign the areas that need the most work. But then going in and looking at individual calls, we can get specific examples and help you really get to the root of where communications are breaking down with your customers. So the scoring is an aggregate, and the training videos are assigned based on these scores each month. And if your team focuses on and improves just one skill each month, they have the potential to become truly effective in a fairly short period of time.
And when we talked about last time, you really have to own this process. I ask our contractors all the time to tell me how committed they are to winning, right? And particularly at this time of the year when people start talking about their budget for 2019 and they have their goals for taking over the free world, if they really care about building on their success, implementing this kind of program is no different.
Yeah, you're right. You have to really be committed to make sure your team improves and delivers. This has to become part of the culture, just like wearing your uniform or getting to work on time. Listen for Us helps you be consistent in your training, and our tools are simple to use, which increases compliance and makes it easier for you to enforce and keep to your commitments. It's not overwhelming. It's easy to access and use, short videos that get to the point, consistent delivery, and measurable benchmarks to track progress.
These 3 webinars have been great, and we've covered a lot of ground. So let's just take a minute and summarize some things. Okay? First of all, the number of customer calls that are not handled as well as they could be is huge. It's just huge no matter where you look. But only about 20% of the calls cover the basic call principles you talked about today. Connect, listen, acknowledge, recommend, and close.
Yeah, most of your listeners here could improve their close ratios by at least 1 deal per month. And depending on their call volume, I'd be surprised if most of them couldn't do at least 10 more sales a month. That's serious money. I mean, they're leaving on the table, and it really doesn't cost a lot to implement a successful training program to fix these problems.
And ListenForce really has figured out all the tricks that you need to have in your toolbox to implement the kind of programs in a way that's really manageable. You're not having to bring people off the phones to get training, right? It's not like you kind of have to lay off, take a fifth of your CSRs offline to get compliance.
Yeah, I totally agree. And of course, it's flexible enough to work around anybody's schedule and still get the results that you want. There is a direct correlation between improved performance on the phone and increased revenue.
Well, Jeremiah, it just was great for you to make the time to join us for this webinar series. It's just so important for our customers to be able to squeeze every appointment possible out of every single phone call. And I'm just always excited to kind of see our listeners use these kind of programs to improve their sales. And really, like you said earlier, when you listen to people and they're successful and you participate in their success, they really become your friends, and that's what we see in some of our guys some of who have used your services for almost 10 years now. We see the difference in their bottom line from things just like this.
Well, I appreciate that, and it's been a pleasure, Mike. Stochastic's been a great partner to work with over the past several years, and we can't wait to have your listeners join us at ListenForce so we can help them improve how they handle the leads that you're generating for them.
Well, if you want more information, one of the nice things about the webinars like this is all the contact information is here on the webinar. You can reach out to Jeremiah or myself, and we will make sure that you get all the details you need to take this to the next step, answer any of your questions, and just remind them again about the free assessment.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is really a great opportunity. We can either get the calls for you ourselves, you can give us calls, but what we'll do is we'll actually take your calls and we'll analyze them. We'll run them through our system, and we'll come back to you with some data that not only says how your team is doing individually, but how they compare with others in the industry. We'll give you a good sense of where you're at in your training program, and then what the gaps are, what you can do to actually go to the next step. Believe it or not, we've actually talked with a few locations that have spent a lot of money on training, and we've gone back to them and said, you know what, I'm hearing some fantastic performance on this phone call. Here's a couple areas that I would suggest that you address. Whereas others we've listened to, we've gone back to them and said, I've got some good news for you. If you fix all of this, you're going to make a lot of money. So either way, it's been valuable for somebody to get that feedback, and of course we do that all for free.
And as current customers know, the conversation analytics through Stochastic for the call monitoring and tracking is also free for Stochastic customers. So the combination is almost like the best way to look at this is if you're a customer of Stochastic, you get conversation analytics, call tracking, a lot of unbelievable reporting on your team's performance. That's included as part of our services. You don't have to pay for that. And the savings that you experience if you are using a different call tracking, call recording system, even if it's in your own phone system, will more than pay for ListenForce training and monitoring and correction every month. I mean, you cannot get the easiest and, no brain, no reason to delay the decision kind of answer than this. As a way to help you improve your call center performance, Jeremiah and I have something we'd like to give you as another perk for listening to our webinar series. We call it our Stop Screwing Up Your Calls Consultation Call. Now, that's probably not the most creative name for a consultation phone call, but you're not here to see how fancy I can get. You're here to make sure you get the most business you can out of every phone call that comes into your contracting business. So, if you can tolerate my blunt consultation call name, here's what I'll give you on that call. You will get the 4 simple steps that it will immediately increase your lead production by at least 10% today. The one thing your CSRs can do in 90 seconds or less to book 90% of your calls. The high-impact CSR quick reference cheat sheet. Print and post this right away so that they never forget what to say or how to say it, ever. The exact words that need to be spoken every time to make sure you get the appointment. Phrases to know if you have a customer's commitment to book or if you're about to lose the appointment. How to improve CSR confidence level in 9 phrases or less so they represent your business like it should be represented. The precise phrases that make a caller 4.4 times more likely to buy from you. Plus, as a bonus for scheduling your Stop Screwing Up Your Calls right now, you can also get a copy of our $300,000 4-year-long call center performance study where we analyzed over 600,000 calls with over 30 quintillion. Look it up, it's a big number, combinations of call performance metrics. You will immediately get your very own copy of the entire study on call center performance, which includes all 45 measurements using our proprietary conversation analytics, how to immediately build credibility on every call, how to eliminate buyer confusion and missed opportunities, the best method to handle customer complaints, what customer objection language your CSR should be intently listening for, when silence on the phone is a good thing, when it becomes a deal killer, plus so much more. If there ever was something that was easy for you to do that would significantly improve the trajectory of your contracting business for 2019, scheduling this consultation call would be that one thing. Simply click the button here to schedule your Stop Screwing Up Your Calls consultation call now.